much for coming. My name is Mike Guilfoyle. I'm ARC's Research Director and Senior Analyst, and I lead the company's efforts for artificial intelligence, machine learning, and analytics. So today I'm very excited about this session. We have two great folks to join us that'll give us two extremely complementary perspectives on how to establish and grow analytics in an organization. So as we get started talking about how do you organize people and then technology to support your business objectives, I always think it's good to take a step back and really understand why are we here talking about this particular subject. It's not just the what, but it's the how and why that are important. And analytics, of course, aren't new. The analytics have been done for quite some time, as we all know. But there are some factors that are really reshaping how analytics can be used and how data can be used. It really starts with smart devices and equipment. There's a lot of it. It's going into infrastructure and operating environments in a greenfield manner. And then also it's being added to brownfield operational environments via sensors. And this technology is starting to become connected. It is not quite connected yet, but it is starting to become connected, and that desire to connect and have two-way communication with those devices is growing. And the compute power in these smart connected devices is massive. It's exponentially better than it has ever been, even down to the smallest device itself. And at the same time, this connected, ubiquitous smart environment is producing vast amounts of data. And I'm not just talking about the streaming data, the timestamp data from the equipment itself, but also a lot of the related data. Think about what edge data constitutes. It could be work orders, logs, PDFs, observations, video, audio. And at the same time, there's also ubiquitous access to this data at instant speed. Think of a mobile device. I can see what's occurring on a particular device instantly, even halfway across the globe. And the cost of doing all this is just plummeting. And that's going to continue. And what people are doing with this environment and this data and analytics is really using all of that to reshape markets. And that's really where you get digital transformation and disruptive innovation. So people are taking the data, and they're using new techniques and methods to effectively wall off the known world and traditional access to customers in traditional ways. They're using it to really serve their customers in new and better ways, and at the same time, gain immense operational efficiency. And these disruptive companies, this disruptive way of doing business, this creation of digital economies is going to happen faster than we think, and it's going to dominate markets. So, if data becomes the currency of a digital economy, then analytics, of course, is the key to unlocking the value in that data. And it does so by tapping into that data, no matter where it is, making sense of it via insights, and then delivering it to people and machines in a way that they can act on it proactively instead of reactively. And when you're proactive, you can see the state of the future and the desired state of your business. And that allows you to continually improve towards that desired state. And that's the technology aspect of it. But what that does is it changes the working culture. It enables a what-if mentality. So the organization can start to ask, what if I could do this? What if I could do that? What if I could avoid this? And that is the very essence of innovation. So, as I mentioned, analytics is not new. We've had performance analytics for quite some time. But using new digital means, we can go get data and we can enhance those methods so that they seem new to us. They're familiar in terms of their technique, but the benefits they can derive are in fact new. And then you couple that with the emerging solutions around predictive and prescriptive analytics, industrial machine learning, for example. Those combined, based on data, equipment, digital innovation, that is an entirely new operating environment. So if you step back for a moment, it's quite interesting to take that context and look at all of the systems and techniques and methods for using data and where it's being improved. And it's an amazing range. Some of these systems, some of these techniques are extremely familiar. And then some of them are very much bleeding edge. And what it goes to show you is you have an immense toolkit to work with when it comes to data and how you can get value from it. So this is a maturity model that I established back in the summertime, and I'm not going to take too much time here because I know Michelle's going to talk about it as well, I believe. But there's 2 points. So if you, hopefully I will do this. Oh well. Anyway, so if you look at the column on the left-hand side, that's the typical maturation process. And I've designed this around performance outcomes with people, processes, and things. There's a couple misconceptions, I think, when people look at maturity models. They always say, you know what, I want to be in that top quadrant across the board. Or if you get another orientation, I want to be in the top left. That's the most mature state. I think that's overkill in many instances. And when we think of digital transformation, I think too often we go to that overkill state. In many instances, it's really about understanding when is enough enough. So there are 2 things that I see all the time relative to the maturation process. First of all, it's iterative. Analytics is iterative, and you're going to find 2 things. Sometimes you will gain a state of maturation only to slip in another area because you've advanced. Or you'll realize, I can't get past this next level that I want to achieve. I can't get past and achieve my business objective because I haven't cleaned up another area over here. So there's real dependencies, and it is very much the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's an iterative journey. The second thing is, where do I stop? That's probably the question that I get asked most often in terms of, how does this stuff work? Everybody thinks I'm headed to the top. I'm headed to the top. There are so many instances where a technique in the operating environment that you have it in, it's designed for, with a specific data it works well with, is perfectly fine. Establish that as your goal, achieve it, and move on. And you'll hear about that again today from our speakers. Those 2 things, I will say this to the vendors, if you can help people understand how to navigate those 2 instances, you will become high value to them because it is something that is difficult to see. So, we've talked about digital transformation this whole week. We've talked about data, we've talked about analytics. And one of the things that keeps bubbling up, and I'm glad it does, is ultimately it's about people. It's not the technology that leads, it's the people that lead and bring the technology to help them achieve their objectives. So when you look at digital transformation, when you look at analytics, when you look at how do you use this stuff, how do I make it a core competency, you really want to start to think about the fundamentals around the people that are engaged in this transformation, that are engaged in using analytics to affect change. Because what you're asking them to do is you're asking them to change their work culture to achieve a better business outcome. And that can be very, very challenging. So you're asking them things like, how are skills and competencies addressed based on where I want my business to be? How do you navigate motivation and attitudes for people, particularly those people that are technology averse? How do you get them motivated to move in the direction you want them to go? How do you sort out changing dynamics? So as you change process via technology, as you fundamentally rethink what you can do, you're asking people within groups and groups to operate differently, together and apart. How do you do that? And then I think also understanding when it comes to process, you're first going to focus on improving it, more efficiency, doing it better, faster, more profitably. But it's not just about improving your existing process, it's also understanding you can blow it up and you can reinvent it. And that's asking a lot for the people involved in that process. And that has to be considered in the context of digital transformation and what analytics can tell you about your business. And then I think one of the things that I promise you this time next year, I will have a session around what are the organizational structures that come about relative to digital transformation? What do they look like? How do you take what's traditionally in a manufacturing plant or a utility and look at, I'm changing all of this because it's not aligned with where I need to be. Is it flatter? What do you do about autonomy? Do you have more or less? How does data drive decisions, and how does that impact somebody, groups and people who have been so used to making decisions so many different ways? So I will have a session about that here next year, and I'm glad to see that people are really starting to talk about the people aspect of digital transformation and the power of analytics to affect great business outcomes, but also impact people and how they're valued. So I will end here.